Welcome to the deep crab pattern lesson. In this lesson, we're going to show you a slight variation of the crab pattern, the deep crab pattern. We will show you the key differences as well as the key similarities that make this pattern a valid pattern. We will show you the PRZ followed by a real market example and finally finish things up with some key points. The deep crab pattern evolved from a broken bat pattern as well as an evolution of a different crab pattern. Similar to the crab pattern, it utilizes exclusively a 1.618 XA projection for the defining level in the PRZ. The main difference will come at the B point, so let's walk through this. On your left, you will see the bullish deep crab, and on your right, you will see the bearish deep crab. Let's start with the X to A move. The X to A move is no longer the defining move in this one because we are in an extension pattern. In a retracement pattern, the entire pattern would be encompassed within the X to A move. But on this one, we're going to extend outside the X point. The B point is what really separates the deep crab from the crab pattern. We are looking for an 886 retracement. In fact, the deep crab pattern usually possesses a B point that is beyond the 886 level, but it does not violate the initial X point. So we have to at least touch the 886, and we can actually go a little bit beyond it, but we cannot violate the X point. We will then look for our B to C retracement here. We're looking for the standard 382 to 886 retracement. And then we are going down into our D point. We're looking for a confluence of three numbers. The ABCD or alternate ABCD is more important in this pattern than it would be in the crab pattern. Typically, we'll find a 127 alternate ABCD pattern here. Because we have the deeper B point, we can actually find a true ABCD pattern within this pattern, but a 127 alternate ABCD is more common. And because the B point is so deep, the 1.618 ABCD is actually not an option here. The BC extension we're looking for is a 224 to 3.618. So just a little bit different than the crab pattern. And then the XA is exactly the same. We're looking for a 1.618 extension, and this is the defining move within this pattern. Let's look at the PRZ here, and let's look at how these fib levels come into play with each other. On this one, you'll notice a little bit different in that we have the ABCD all the way down at the bottom level here. If we had just a standard ABCD, it would actually be the top level in this. But since we're usually going to have a 127 ABCD, it actually comes in just a little bit below the 1.618 usually, but this can vary from pattern to pattern here. So we have the 224 to the 3.618 BC, the 1.618 XA, which is the most important of all the numbers, and the 127 ABCD. Okay, the critical aspect of this pattern is the tight potential reversal zone created by the 1.618 of the XA leg and the extreme 2.24, 2.618, 3.14, or 3.618 projection of the BC level. So the XA, BC are the most important levels here, as in the crab pattern, with the 127 ABCD complementing them. When structure is completing the CD leg, okay, so when structure is going into the CD leg, when price moves past the B point and the X point, since these points are really close together, price typically accelerates because we are violating two important prior support and resistance zone. So we're having what we would call a breakout. When this happens, the result is frequently a sharp move that quickly extends to the 1.618 XA projection. So once we get past that X point, since the B and the X point are both at the same similar levels, let's say, we usually have a breakout which accelerates price, usually up into the 1.618 XA. So let's walk through a standard move. So price accelerates, we wait for it to hit the 1.618. Price is going to be a little bit volatile here in the PRZ because we have a sharp move up, which means that once we hit this PRZ, we're likely to have a sharp move out. So we wait for the 1.618 XA, then we rally out, and now we're looking for our targets. Okay, before we can go to our targets, let's look for our stop area. On this one, we are going to use the 2.0 XA again. Okay, so we use the 2.0 XA in the crab pattern, and we're going to use the 2.0 XA in the deep crab pattern. And this is just because these levels are extremely significant. So even though we have a little bit deeper B point retracement, we still use the 2.0 as our stop area. So just outside the 2.0. And then our targets again are the 382 and the 618 of the A to D move. let's walk through a real market example. Again, I'm going to give you a few seconds to look for the deep crab pattern, and then I'll outline it for you. This one's going to be a little bit tougher for you to find, but remember, we're looking for that extension in the pattern. Okay, so let's just outline it, and then we'll go through it just like we do every one of them. We get our X to A here, our A to B, and remember, we're looking for a deep retracement here. B to C, which we just needed at least a 382, and then C to D, which is going to come up somewhere in one of these tops up top here. Okay, so this is a W-like pattern, which means that it is a bearish pattern. M's are bullish, W's are bearish. So let's go through this. First, we've got to find the fib retracement here. So we'll go down here, and we touch the 886 just past it. So that's valid. Next, we have to make sure that the C point comes in at the right area. And I can already see that it's past the 382, almost to the 50 level, but it's just past 382, so that's valid. Now let's look for where we will have our extensions. So we have our, let's do our defining move, our X to A extension. So we have the length of the XA leg here. Oops. And remember, we are looking for the 1.618 of the X to A leg. So let's put that in. And we'll put it in right here. And our stop is at 2. So let's make sure we acknowledge that. So we have to draw this again. And then let's look for the BC confluence. So we are looking for at least a 224, but it can be as much as a 3.618. And it looks like we get a 2.618 right here, a 314 just above, and a 3.618 just below the actual stop. So in this one, since the 2.618 comes closest to the XA extension, this is the one that I'd probably pay most attention to, because even though you can see that we went up above, I don't have that foresight. So we can also check where the ABCD comes in. ABCD would have came in a little bit lower. We can actually see where the 127 ABCD comes in at, and it looks like that's going to come in right there at that same level. So we'll just leave that up there. So everything comes in real tight right in here. So what we would do is, we've already outlined our stop. We need to outline our potential targets, and we will put it all the way up here, because this is an area that I would consider taking the actual trade in. And this is the 618 right here. Okay, so we've got our 382 and our 618 outlined right here. Okay, so what we do is price. You can see it doesn't really get too volatile once we get past the B and X point. However, it really can. So we could get a quick run up into this area, and then it would bounce back. So what I was looking for here, and I'll zoom in, and you can see that we go up into this confluence here, the BC and XA, and we get wicks that start popping up through here. We just can't break the this level. At this point, I'm thinking this is a good area to take a short. So I would probably take a short at the upper of the two, just because this is where a lot of wicks are. So we would take a short right here, and you see price rallies back down, but then it goes back up, rallies back down, goes back up, almost stops us out. And again, we would have our stops just above that, almost stops us out. And then we get our rally back into the 382. We remember we would roll our stops to break even, and then the price rallies right back up into the original area. So on this one, on the other ones I've shown you, it really hasn't, it's hurt us more than it's helped us to move it to break even, because I've picked perfect scenarios here. on this one, because we rolled our stops to break even, we actually protected ourselves from a potential loss right here. So we have a short position that we took, and the position is first one, and that worked out well. First one's about a 1.5 to 1, and the second one's at almost 2.5 to 1. So we saved ourselves, let's say we risked 1% of our account on this. We saved ourselves potentially 0.5% because we had gotten our first position filled and taken off, and we potentially saved ourselves the 0.5% of loss. And that's the whole point of rolling our stops here to break even, is that we're trying to save ourselves that 0.5%. Now, even though it rolls over big time once we get up to our 2.0 stop level, we would have been stopped out. So nevertheless, you would have missed this entire move down. So even though we're in a perfect scenario here and we've already researched all this, you don't get the foresight of looking at any of this. You don't get to see anything past where you're taking your entry. Okay, so we have to abide by rules. We have to protect ourselves as much as possible, and we have to execute. And that's the only thing that's going to keep us consistently profitable, is following our rules to the T, executing the proper way, and not breaking our rules just because we have a gut feeling or our emotions are kicked in here. We have to continuously follow the rules, and that's the only thing that'll keep us consistently profitable. To close out this lesson, let's go over the key points. First, just like the crab pattern, we have a tight potential reversal zone created by the 1.618 of the XA leg and the extreme 224 to 3.618 projection of the BC leg. Next, the B point must be an 886 retracement. Again, we can go past the 886, but it has to be less than the X, and it must be at least the 886. And then we look for sharp moves into the PRZ, because once we get past the B and X points, we will have a sharp move into that PRZ. So we have to look for sharp moves into and out of it.